My name is Dylan Green. I'm from Bend, Oregon. And my life, it's been fine.
You have like the hottest teachers in school.
Until yesterday.
I did not know that breaking up with you would be so easy.
What?
Change some broken fate.
Bro, you're losing it. And over Katie, you're being selfish.
Selfish? I'm not being selfish. You're so obsessed with Amber Andrews. And go over and talk to her.
What? She texts me in biology class like all the time.
You should come to Havasu, Billy.
Please come, please come.
Could you please say that for me one more time? Fools ever heard of Lake Havasu before? This is what we need. Gentlemen, this spring break, we are going to Lake Havasu.
What are we gonna do? We can't get there. You stole the highway?
What the?
It's a strip club diner in the middle of nowhere. Probably a bad idea.
Welcome to Beware of Tits, where not only the food and drinks are bottomless, but so are the girls.
Hey! It's a bottomless strip joint! We don't show our tits here!
This is our week, all right? You ready?
We could throw our own parties, cruise the lake.
We're here about the backyard boat.
I'm Sarah, a Havasu local.
You gotta surrender yourself to life's challenges or you'll never experience it.
Oh, shit! That was awesome, kid!
I mean, you and Maxie just left me. I don't even know where he is. He's probably dead.
It's time to lose it, my virginity.
Yes, you can, and you will.
Wait, you're not coming with us, are you?
If it was up to me, we'd all be coming together by the end of the night.
What's up, podcast world? This is your host, T. Huff. Welcome to Hollywood Hate Me. This is episode 7. Now, in this episode, I do something a little bit different, kind of like a 1-2 punch. In the past episode 6, I spoke to Jeff Janke. In this episode, I speak to Jeff Janke's producing partner, life partner, his wife, Amber Goetz. Amber Goetz is the producer of the film Highway to Havasu. And Amber sits down with us and we talk about producing her first feature film, Highway to Havasu. And in this episode, she gives us a little bit of pointers from the producer standpoint, and it's just nice to hear about a film from the point of view of a producer and a director. That's why I decided to bring them both on separately. Amber talks about how they created a kind of a chaotic atmosphere during their casting just to see how the actors react to it. It was cool to hear about that. And she also talked about some of the things that the producers do during the different stages of making the film Highway to Havasu. So, you know, this is a great episode. I hope you get a lot out of it. And make sure you guys check out the website, HollywoodHateMe.com. There you can find the past episodes. I also post these episodes up on Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, and iTunes. If you guys happen to have iTunes, please take a quick minute to go to iTunes, subscribe. That way you get an instant notification when I put up the new show. And then rate the show. That way, you know, it'll help us out a lot. And it'll gain, you know, some attraction to this show. We see that we're getting some pretty good numbers. But I'd like to have some of you guys, you know, just give us a couple of stars or something. Let us know how we're doing. All right, so that's about it. So let's go on ahead and get on with the show. Peace.
Are you an aspiring filmmaker looking to leave your mark on the big screen? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Hollywood Hate Me with your host, T. Huff.
Amber, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. Excited.
Yeah, congratulations about you guys' film Highway to Havasu. I can't wait to see it. I hear that you guys have a screening coming up pretty soon. I'm gonna get my tickets later this week.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. Thank you so much for supporting. We are, yes, on February 18th, we're going to be at the Hollywood Reel Independent Film Festival. We won Best Comedy, which is extremely flattering, and we can't believe it. We're very excited, and we're also up for People's Choice. So, gosh, that would be the coolest thing ever to win because, I mean, you know, you want the people to like your movie, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. And like when me and Jeff were talking, we were talking about how how, you know, tough it is to get comedy films accepted into film festivals. It's usually more dramatic films that are talked about and accepted into film festivals. So it's great that you guys are able to get Highway to Havasu into a film festival, and it sounds like you got an award already. That's great. That's a great start so far.
Thank you. It's funny because talking with a lot of people that have a lot of background and a lot of knowledge in festivals, yeah, it's a really common thing to not even get into a festival, let alone do well with a comedy. So, I mean, you can imagine our surprise when we found out. We were like, whoa, really? Like, we just, obviously, we're like, let's try the festival, you know, the festival circuit. Let's see if we can get anyone interested. And so to get some interest is like, we're extremely grateful. We're really, really excited to see what happens.
Okay. And if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And also how you got involved in Highway to Havasu?
Okay. All right. Well, long short of it is I spent 11 years living in LA doing the grind of driving to castings, probably, I don't know, an average 3 to 4 a day, you know, trying to make it as an actor. I really enjoyed it, and the booking work was super exciting, and I had so much fun, and I'm just super thankful for every experience I had. However, it was never this like dying, burning desire for me to make it as an actor. I just didn't. It was cool, and I was like, wow, it's so cool being on set, meeting cool people, and I was always really more interested in how does this work? How does this all come together? And like really getting to know everyone behind the scenes, the crew side of things, I felt was fascinating, which is kind of funny because flash forward 15 years late after, you know, beginning being an actor, I'm now on the other side of things, and it's so clear to me that this is where I should have been the whole time. Like, sure, like, you know, acting is so much fun, and I get why people become, like, it becomes who they are. But it's clear to me why I didn't go any further. I don't have exactly what it takes to be in front of the camera. But I sure as hell can work my butt off and make a million things happen on the other side of things. So getting into producing smaller things with Jeff is my husband.
Okay.
We first did a music video together a few years ago, and he's like, hey, I want you to help me like produce a little. And I'm like, okay, cool, I could do that. And you know, it's simple enough. It's a music video. It's just a one-day shoot, no big deal. And so I helped a lot with that, and then we did another one, and then we did another one, and it just sort of kept going, and we're like, this is cool. Like, you know, we put together like a cool little team for our music video stuff, and he, myself, and one of our other best friends had been threatening to make a movie years ago. 10 years ago, we wrote a screenplay together, and it took us years to actually finalize it. And when we were done with it, we were like, cool, we have this awesome script that we love so much and we're so passionate about, but there's no way we could make this movie. We would have needed, you know, a couple $1 million at that, and that wouldn't even be doing the movie justice. So we sort of put it on the back burner, and it became this thing that we were like, one day we're going to make that movie. And then a couple years ago, Jeff and I watched Everything Must Go with Will Ferrell.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting there watching it, and it's such a great film if you haven't seen it. It's great. It's simple. It's well done.
I'm trying to think. Who else was in that film?
I feel really bad, but I can't remember. I just remember being so blown away by Will Ferrell.
What was the storyline again? Was it a drama or a comedy?
I think it's like a dark dramedy. Like his wife leaves him, and he's just like, he's over it, and so he basically just begins to sort of live on his lawn, like he just doesn't care anymore. He has no like zest for life, but it's like, it's genius. It's like one location. It's just filmed at a house. You know what I mean? And super small cast, and we're watching it, and I'm like, Jeff, this is what we need to do. We need to do something we can actually pull off on our own. Like, we don't need anybody. Let's think this way. And so, you know, we start talking about it, and then I don't even know where it came from, but he wakes up one day and just starts cranking out this script, and 3 days later he has a rough screenplay of Highway to Havasu, and he's like, well, you know, we'll film it in Havasu. I should probably mention that we eventually left LA because we wanted to have a child, and we didn't want to do it in a big city. We wanted to like sort of, you know, do like a small town thing. So we live in Lake Havasu, Arizona, and he's like, we shoot primary everything here. The cost of filming in a small town like this is super simple. We'll get a lot of people involved, and so we brainstorm and we start talking to people, and it just sort of kept happening. It was weird. Like within a week, he went to LA to he was producing a song for a recording artist, and while he was there, he did like a little sort of like a test casting thing. I don't think at that point he was like fully aware of who the characters would all be, but at the same time it was fun to watch people take it off the page and sort of just kept the story growing. And he came back and he was like, let's start talking to people, like let's do this. And so we get an interview with the papers through a friend of ours, and they do a whole write-up on us and how we're doing this movie. And it was so cool to see a small town that's, everyone knows of Lake Havasu, we've heard of it at some level, really come behind us. It was really neat. And the next day that the article came out, we get a call from someone named Mike Anderson, who's one of our good friends now, good guy, who just was like, I am so into this. I've been on a lot of films out here. He's like a water safety guy, and he gets hired to do like a lot of the boat coordinating and things like that for movies. Okay. And he had worked on Piranha. He was so excited at the idea of doing another film and on this level, because I think he could tell, like when you've been a part of a crew of a big film, there's so many people and you're such small fish, but I think he saw the vision behind the idea of like, let's get a really great group of people together and just, kick ass and make this really awesome. So Mike came over and met with him. He read the script. He started telling his other friends who've been involved in filming that's going on in Havasu. And, we meet with the city, we meet with the tourism board. And it was like everywhere we went, everyone was so receptive and so excited and loved the idea of creating this very, pretty truthful view, I guess, of how people sort of perceive, crazy spring break party time and what it is actually really like to live here. And so once we told the story, it was easy. It was like everyone wanted to help. We had people wanting to cater and wanting to give us locations for free, and hey, we'll help you with security, and here's the high school is like, we're going to tell all the high school kids you guys have extras. And it was just this like awesome domino effect of just really excited people coming together. And within, I feel like 3 weeks, we were full-blown casting. The script had been rewritten like 3 times, which, continued forever. I felt like 8 months, it kept just changing. And within 60 days of having the first draft of the screenplay, we had every single person casted, and we were scheduling cast shoots and writing out our filming locations, and it was a full-blown, it was happening.
Wow, that's great.
And I remember going to Jeff going, we're doing this. We're actually making a movie.
We're making a movie.
It's really weird feeling.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, right?
No one's going to stop us.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's great. See, that's great. When I was in film school, when I was in grad school, I was talking to some of my classmates, and I was telling them that, when you guys are done, like, go back home and make a movie. It'd be a lot easier for you to go back home and make a movie than to stay here in L.A. and make a movie, because in L.A. is just so film savvy. There's one shoot that I did, was trying to rent a rundown gas station, right? So I'm driving around trying to find a gas station, and I found this nice, it was a really, really small, really cute little gas station that had 2 pumps, like a really old looking gas station. So I went and spoke to the owner. The owner had a small garage, and he was actually there working in the garage on a car. And I spoke to him, and he said, oh, yeah, no problem. It'll be like $5,000 a day. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, what? I mean,
cool, there goes all my budget.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm not Universal. I'm not Universal Studios. So then the guy said, well, yeah. He said $5,000 a day is actually not that bad, because they just shot Transformers here. And I said,
oh my gosh.
I said, oh, come on, they shot Transformers here? He was like, yeah, it was the one scene where who's the star of Transformers again? His name just slipped my mind. Shia LaBeouf bought Bumblebee. Yeah. He bought Bumblebee. That scene at that little gas station where, that was kind of a used car lot. and he bought Bumblebee. It was at that gas station. I had to step back.
Is it like off the 215? Is that what you're talking about? That gas station?
No, it's not off the 215. It's actually like off the 210. Okay. And I don't remember the street. This was a long time ago. But I was like, come on,
okay,
man. I'm not.
There's a really cool gas. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. I was like, come on, man. I'm not trying to shoot Transformers. You know, you're talking about my whole budget. And then he said, okay. When just give me half, 2,500. So of course I had to go somewhere else.
Gosh.
You know, but it is great. It is great to if you live in a small town and you know the community there, the community will get behind you a lot quicker and easier than if you were here in LA or like a big city.
Right, getting an investor. And, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's funny because I think that's the thing we get asked the most. I just went to a birthday party yesterday. My daughter was invited too, and right away someone that I hadn't seen in years was there, but they're like, hey, we heard about the movie and the trailer was great, and like, you guys made a movie. How did you do that? And like, it's funny because in people's minds, like there's two ways. They're either like, yeah, right, it's going to be this horrible movie, or they're like, oh my God, you made a movie. So they can't, it's such a weird bridge to gap. And I'm just like explaining how, like, you know, it's a great idea to get out of LA, go somewhere else, go somewhere where not only are the locations probably more unique because they're not shot at every 5 seconds by some major production.
Yeah, like Transformers.
And you've got these people who don't get exposed to that sort of industry or lifestyle, so it's super exciting to be a part of it. And those people, they want to help, they want to talk about it, they want to tell their friends, they want to share your trailer, you know, whatever. So I think it's an absolutely excellent idea to get out of LA and try to do something different.
Yeah. Okay. So, how do you establish trust and confidence with your investors? Because that's one of the things I know a lot of filmmakers are like really at first, you know, a lot of us will, like myself, I'm a writer and I'm a director. So I'm behind the camera. I'm not really the front man. I don't put on presentations and stuff. And so like when it's time for filmmakers like myself to approach an investor, it's like, how do we have them trust us into giving us money to, you know, make a film? Do you have any advice on that?
I think the only advice I can give, and some people might think this is a really cheesy response, but it's from my heart, is feel it out. And if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't feel like the right fit, it's probably not. And if you don't have somebody that believes in you, believes in your vision, and believes it's possible, then I think that's a giant sign to run. And I think that goes across the board for your casting, for your crew, for all aspects of your film. I really think you have to find the right marriage of people and just be confident that the right mix will come.
Okay. So how did you as the producer make sure that all the collaborators on the team had like the same agenda and that you guys were, you know, trying to make the same movie?
Gosh. Okay. So in the beginning, we'll start with casting, because I think that's where casting really started.
Okay. That's a great place to start.
Our cast. Okay, cool. I feel, because I was an actress for so long, our casting was quite unconventional. I had been thrown in awkward circumstances a few times. One time I had to audition in front of Kelsey Grammer, and I feel like he sort of did what we did. Like, he wanted to see how we would behave in a really uncomfortable environment, and I dug it. Like, I thought it was so cool. And Jeff and I sort of did the same thing. We had a lot of stuff going on in the casting room, and we were just like throwing random stuff, and I'm like, oh, do this, do that, read lines with this person, and maybe that person was like a little bit odd, and it wasn't the traditional dude behind a camera reading lines. It really helped, as silly as this sounds, it really helped us find the people who, A, didn't seem like they'd be that much fun to spend 40 days with filming, B, people who had a great sense of humor, I think, and people who are really prepared for the role versus just memorize their lines. Like, really put thought into who each character was that they came in to audition for. Okay. And I think by putting people outside their comfort zone a little bit, you just get a different view of them than every other casting they walk into, because it's all on the fly, and they're like, whoa, With our crew, everyone we hired, we spent a lot of time talking to on the phone. It was like, I'm not kidding, it was probably like a good 45-minute conversation per person that we were looking at hiring, whether it was the gaffer or our sound guy. It was really, really important to us that they not only loved filmmaking, but they loved the idea of this film. If they wanted to read the script in full, we were so excited for that.
Okay, so you said you had like 40-minute conversations. So you were basically just letting them know that this is going to be a really low budget. We're gonna like I don't know like what kind of parameters did you set for them, or what type of expectations did you say that you were expecting of them, or like what was the 40-minute conversations like? I mean, I don't need the whole 40 minutes, but just
No, it sounds,
of it.
it sounds crazy, right?
Uh-huh.
I think it was like spending a lot of time getting to know, their backstory and do they like what they do. I mean, we talked to so many people that it just seemed like such a, like pushing a button at a desk job. Like there was no passion, there was no, and we'd talk about it. Because we both did the pre-production, so we would sit and be like, oh, I talked to this guy, and we'd go through pros and cons, and we're just like, if someone just seemed like they're just going to show up and do their job and whatever, but then we talk to another guy who's going to show up and do his job, and he loves this idea, he loves comedies, then he was definitely more our guy, if that makes sense. Because we really wanted to make sure that there was this like overall feeling of everyone's into it. We really want everyone to be like, hell yeah, at the end of the day. We warned everybody that because we're trying to shoot in such a compacted shoot schedule, because I think we shot 42 days, I can't remember, I'd have to look. We had a lot, there was a lot to cover, and we did a lot of locations as well. So it made it really difficult, because some days we were doing a full-blown company move, which, as you know, takes up a good amount of the day, which would extend us into shooting, long hours into the night. We pulled a 19-hour day one day. And I don't know how. Nobody on the crew murdered us. Looking back, I'm like, why didn't they all walk?
Wow. They must have, well, it sounds like you all that work you guys did paid out, because you found the right crew, and the crew was dedicated, just like you guys. And that's one of the things I'm going to have to make sure, I do when I look for my cast, and also the crew for my film. I plan on shooting pretty soon. So let me see. You already said about how you found the crew members and the cast members. Did you have any say or feedback as far as the cast members? Did you and your husband go over tapes and like how did that go? Because usually, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, what were you going to say? Because you're writer director. I'd love to hear what you were going to say first.
Oh, because sometimes, I was going to say, as a director, sometimes, let me see, people have different taste, right? But then I would think that the writer and the director would have more of an idea of who the character is. But sometimes I've noticed when I do take another look at, like, when I get a suggestion from like either my producer, or sometimes I would have like my editor as well come and take a look at the audition tapes. Sometimes I find myself taking another look at that person and then calling them back. And then I could see where, I could see why the producer or my editor is fighting for that person. Did you guys have any kind of, issues or anything like that as far as casting?
Jeff definitely had more of a visual of exactly what he wanted for each character. Mm-hmm. So it made it interesting, because for me, reading it, I obviously pictured certain cast members a certain way, and some of them, literally a photo came in and I was like, oh, that's our girl, or that's our guy. Like, I just could, that was exactly what was in my mind. Some of them literally walked in and we were like, yep, it was exactly what we wanted. And other ones we were like, no way, not even close. And then we would go, it honestly is half and half. There's 3 characters off the top of my head that I can say without a doubt from their headshot, I was like, that's our so-and-so, that's our so-and-so. And then there was a couple other that literally surprised us, that we were like, whoa, okay, wow, we didn't expect to feel this way. And honestly, for us, it was the timing was everything, because when we found our first lead guy, the second lead guy made so much more sense. And then the third lead guy it was ridiculous. We were like, how did this just happen? How did we get these three? Because their chemistry together is amazing, and they feel like old friends. And then one of the hardest times we had spent was looking for our lead girl, and it was a girl who we had seen for another part, and she begged us to see her for the lead, and we were like, no, because it wasn't what either of us had pictured. And she's like, just let me come in and give it a try. And we put her with our lead boy, or the guy who she'd be doing her scenes with. And she walked out, and we were like, yep, she's the one. Like, it was like she knew it was cool. And now I watch her in the scenes, and I'm like, thank God she said something. Thank God she went, no, you please give me a chance, because who knows what it would have ended up with, and she did a really great job.
So let's move to production a little bit. So during, or let's say before production, the locations that you shot at, did you choose those locations because of that's what the director wanted, or is it because you had your producer hat on? We can actually afford that.
It was totally both. Definitely had has to happen here. This is how I see it. And then there was, you're being ridiculous. There's no way we're going to move from a morning shot to this location. So there was definitely a mix of both of those. Some of our filming days were a little wonky because we were dealing with that, where I'm trying to save money and he's trying to get the shot he wants at the right time of the day. But it absolutely was both. Okay. Which I honestly, you can't pull off in a big city. There's no way. We pulled it off because we're out in the middle of nowhere and no one else is in our way.
And according to
that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And according to this shoot, what was money well spent? Like, was there something that you thought that was like just, too expensive, let's try to work it out, and then you actually paid for it and thought, yeah, okay, that it makes sense why we got that?
Yeah, gosh, that's a really, really great question.
Because there's going to be people listening to this who are going to be first-time directors who are trying to cut corners, first-time producers too, and we're going to be trying to cut corners. And then I know that, I don't know, personally, but I know that there's going to be something that I probably should have put a little more money into,
Gosh. Okay. This is the only way it makes sense. At first, when you ask that question, I'm picturing like locations and props and vehicles and boats. And I'm like, no. I'm going to backtrack and get right to the bottom of things. And it's camera package and your gaffer. Looking back, I'm the most grateful that we spent out of the budget what we spent on our DP, the camera package, and having really great a gaffer and a ton of equipment, because especially if you're filming outside or mixed lighting areas, there was so many times where I was super grateful that we have all this stuff and we weren't trying to just like run around and light this super low budget. And of course we did. We had a trailer filled with gear, which was great. However, there were so many days where the intense sunlight was blowing out the background, or we're fighting like high noon sun, but it needed to look like soft end of the afternoon. So because we had a great team there, I'm really grateful that money was spent on that, and I definitely wouldn't take that back.
Okay. And what about I hear everybody say sound is really important. So did you have a pretty decent sound crew? Did you how large was your sound department?
We had one guy busting his butt. He was sound engineer and also running boom.
Oh, okay.
And he probably wanted to kill me because he definitely needed help. I mean, there was days where I was just like, oh man, I'm so sorry. There's a lot going on. We did invest in a sound device, the 744T, and I'm really glad we did, because the movie sounds fantastic.
Now, is a 744T a soundboard, or what is that?
It's just the device that my sound engineer wore on set. Okay. I don't know the technical term for it, but that's what he actually recorded the info with. Okay. Now my mixer, he's done such an awesome job at bringing everything all together in post, and it sounds incredible.
Okay,
it's going to sound good at Regal Cinemas, that's for sure.
Okay. And with so many factors, you know, shaping a film's success or failure, and so much is required to go into just to make the film, and even more to make it well, what can be done so it doesn't ever feel as if it was not worth the effort?
Oh, wow. That's a really great question. Let's see.
Because there's so many factors.
I think, there are so many factors, and you know, you're your hardest critic. You're your own worst critic. So you watch your cut, and you watch your final this and your final that, and you're just like, oh, we could have made that better. Oh, should we do this? I think you have to, at a certain point, just go, you know what, this is so much better than I ever imagined it would be. And I think you just have to set real expectations, and when you get to those expectations, be happy with it.
And what was it like seeing the first cut?
Ooh,
you could be honest.
It was
because I know on some of my films, the first cuts are horrible. I call it post-production blues, because now I'm just thinking about, oh, I should have got this, I should have got that, or, ooh, the sound sounds horrible there. How are we going to fix it? Was it similar?
Yeah.
Did you have a similar experience seeing it the first time?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I wouldn't watch the editor cut. Jeff tried. He tried so hard to convince me to watch it. And he's like, it's really important to me. I want your notes. And I was like, no, you know what? I read the script with your humor in mind, you know, your thoughts, your words, and your characters. And I was like, I need to see this movie with fresh eyes from your cut. So I made him go work with Drew Kilcoyne, who is our editor.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'll watch the director's cut. And so I waited and watched the director's cut. And I wasn't upset with it at all. I was like, okay, we have a movie. I see a movie in there.
Okay.
I had so many ideas of things to shave down because it was too long. It was like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something crazy like that. It's a comedy.
That's usually the first cut. You got to put everything in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to figure out what's horrible, what comes out, what do you need. With, you know, some quick work in the first week after having that, we started shaving things down quickly. We started reworking the way things could be told and the way you perceive the characters, you know, the first time you see them, and it just started to shape so much. And it's funny because, like I just said to your last question in regards to how do you walk away satisfied, I mean, still to this day we watch it and we're like, damn it, we didn't get that shot. But then when you show a focus group and they're like, oh my god, I love that shot, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Cool, you didn't notice where we aren't happy with it. Great. So it's one of those things where it's still so much better than I ever imagined it would be.
Okay.
And not that I thought we wouldn't make a good movie. I just am so blown away by how fantastic our crew is, our cast and crew, and everything that's completing this project. It just blows my mind because I really feel like I don't want to say we got lucky because every single person that's been a part of this has been working their butt off, and we're so grateful for that. However, just amazing. I mean, there's been so many things along the way that, okay, it could have went that way. We could have had a 12-hour day, and then some horrible storm came in and just threw off the whole schedule, but somehow magically it all would come together and there would be an easy fix for when an issue came up. And again, I'm going to throw that back to shooting in a small town where you can do that, because there was days, trust me, where it was like, the wind's kind of bad, audio's going to be horrible, let's just swap it, we've got these actors here, let's do this scene. And we were able to, because we're filming somewhere where you just call the guy and go, hey, we're going to shoot tomorrow instead, and they go, okay. You know, versus in LA, it'd be like, oh, no, you're on a wait list.
You're on a wait list, there's an extra fee, yeah. Did you?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you notify the police station? Yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna need another permit for that. Yeah. So it all worked really well in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. So when I spoke with Jeff, he was telling me how everything just happened so quickly. You guys did not waste any time at all. So what would your advice be for the listeners as far as how do you get stuff done? I mean, you guys just from the script. He said he wrote the script. You guys started casting. Then you guys started planning to shoot. He started rewriting. Then you started hiring the crew. And then I think I'm talking to you guys about a year or so later, and the film screening this month, right? The film screening this month. So the question is, how do you just get shit done? You know, because I know there's a lot of filmmakers, including myself, who had scripts, and we got excited about it. And we're like, okay, we're going to make this. And for whatever reason, it gets put on the shelf. Kind of like your first script. It could be that the budget was too big. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, let me tone it down a little bit. Right. But yeah, how do you guys, I mean, you being a producer, you know, he comes to you with the script. How do you just get stuff done to get the movie made?
Okay. I think this answer is going to vary depending on the project, obviously. For myself, I threw a lot of that into a lot of thinking. I came up with the original first filming schedule and then sent it off to the DP, got his feedback, see what he thought, and then first AD looked it over a little bit. And I tried really hard because we brought everyone in from LA, so I tried really hard to have 4 scenarios if, you know, this scene doesn't work or this location is no good when we get there. Like, I tried to have a pseudo mini backup plan. There were days where I had backfires. One day we got to a location and there was like a fair in the parking lot. And I was like, what? The city knew we were filming. Why didn't they say anything? But there was a quick fix because I had another spot that was a mile down the road that we all moved to. I think you have to prepare for what could happen. You have to prepare for, am I going to need a generator? Is my generator going to fail? Am I going to have to replace talent? I had to do that. And just be ready. And you have to put yourself like, what is the worst case scenario that could happen, you know, this week of filming? And that's what I tried to do. I remember I always got teased for like not having too much built out past a week of filming, but it is incredibly hard when you're running, you know, a decent sized crew and you're running all over the place every day. I tried to just focus on the week of and give myself worst case scenarios of what could come up, whether it be equipment failure, you lose talent, you lose crew, and just be ready for it. Okay.
And it also sounded like you guys just turned on the engines and you guys said that, yeah, we're making this movie. We're going, you hopping on or not. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's kind of how we do stuff. we just do it. And people are like, wait, what? But it's funny, I meant to say, we started filming February 21st, our first day of filming, 2015. And less than a year later, we have a locked cut that's going to be viewed here in a couple weeks. So it's 1 year, not even 1 year, we'll be viewing it on the screen, which is kind of weird.
I guess this is kind of a Jeff question, but I'll ask you as well. So how did you make sure that, you know, because I noticed that you guys shot during actual spring break at Lake Havasu, right? So how do you did you have to reel Jeff in at all as far as making sure that you know that he's not shooting too much, he got what he needed, and then okay, we got to move on? Like, how do you make sure, like, you know, you guys didn't shoot too much and that you were able to make your days?
You mean is in regards to the spring break crowd?
Yeah, the spring break crowd, or that was just one example. Because I'm assuming like if I was shooting a spring break crowd, that would be like all day. I'll just be shooting all day. But then again, I would know that I have other stuff I need to get, so it'll be hard to schedule that.
Yeah, the spring breaks. It's a great example, so I'm going to go with it. The spring break stuff was some of the hardest stuff we did because we needed that footage. We needed that, like, crazy party, you know, this is the best place to be. At the same time, try working with drunk spring breakers. It's awesome. Let me tell you, they really care about your film. I mean, we would tell these kids, and they're like, oh, yeah, cool, yeah, we want to be part of it. Heck yeah, and they're signing releases for me, but then when we're like, hey, will you do that again, but this time go this way? You know, it worked. It wasn't, we knew going into it, those were going to be our roughest days. And how we sort of figured out making sure we had enough was, so we filmed what we could and got, you know, the paper to put stuff out there. We put stuff all over Facebook. Hey, we need extras, come down here. We need kids partying, whatever. And we had some off days where we didn't need the talent. So the talent would go back to California. Crew would stay, and it was mostly just like DP and first AC would day, and we would just do B-roll. We would just go out and capture, crazy stuff, beer bongs and all partying, dancing, and just non-stop footage. So we had all of that, and we're using it like crazy because it looks great. It really pieces things together. And as someone who's made a film, when you try to film dialogue scenes and you've got real life partying going on, it doesn't work really well. So we strategically faked the spring break when the actors were on camera and giving their lines, and then went back later and did B-roll of real spring breakers.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's get back to post really quick. So when you guys are in post, and what is your job as a producer? Well, like, what were you doing while they were cutting the film? Like, I know the job continues as a producer.
Yeah, it's funny because there was like a lull there for a while for me, and it's funny because I remember going through wow, am I really needed right now? Because it was like such a, hands-on job while filming.
Mm-hmm.
And then during the first cut and director's cut, it was such a close relationship between Drew and Jeff, because Drew's trying to cut Jeff's, vision. So I didn't have a whole ton to do with that part of it, because I felt like I need to see Jeff's cut. Like that's the cut that's the most important for me to see, to make my changes and so forth. So I did a lot of releases, making sure clearances, things like that. I mean, when you're dealing with spring break coverage, there is stuff everywhere that I had to get permission for. So working on that, working on finalizing contracts, finishing hiring post crew, because we didn't have our full post crew when we were editing. We were still looking for pieces,
Mm-hmm. So
if that makes sense. So
yeah,
I would be
sense.
talking with VFX guys and, kind of researching out different things. But I really feel like the producer's job came back into play once we had like our locked cut, and it's been really busy for me again. Which is weird because now we're nearing the end, and it's a very sad feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but now, I mean, it's coming near the end, but now it's part of just promotion and marketing and the actual selling of the film. So,
yeah,
I mean, I don't think your job's done yet.
It's not done. You know what it is? It's like everyone's dying to see it, and it's like all of that hype's going to be over soon. It's kind of sad, I'm like, I've been wrapping up all the accounting for the year, which is in a small indie film. Yay, that's my job. Which is the worst part of this film. And it's sad to look back and I'm like, oh, we were doing this a year ago, and it was so exciting, and now nothing's not exciting. But I don't know. I think production was my favorite part of the filmmaking process, and post has just been stressful, very stressful.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question. What was your favorite part? So your favorite part was production.
I really loved everything coming together on set, seeing the location work out, and just watching the actors stand in their marks and go, wow, this is exactly what we hoped it would be, and maybe better.
And so you said that about you had to make sure you had releases. Was it while they were cutting the film, do you mean releases for products that ended up on the screen, or the releases for actors, or the releases for locations?
I had all my locations, my actors, my crew guys, those guys were all signed off, but I was going through watching scenes for logos that I didn't have approval on. Our big spring break footage has rock star energy everywhere, and we had heard that they were possibly interested in, letting us use their likeness in the film, and they signed off on it, which was a huge thing for us. That's a big deal to be allowed to. Yeah, it's fantastic. So, just stuff like that. I mean, it's really funny because there's even a couple, still, 2 T-shirts that are seen in the film that I have contacted the T-shirt maker multiple times. Multiple times they say, oh, yeah, that sounds great. We'd love to sign a release, and then they don't respond. So I have to look into the legality of that, because it's your clearance department acknowledged it, they're super excited about it, but then they can't respond to an email. So I don't know what that means.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just, a lot of that stuff.
Okay, so I mean that's pretty much all the questions I have. Is there any advice you have for first time producers, or do you think, or if you could think back of something you probably could have done differently that you'd like to, shed some light on?
I think the best advice I could get is just really take your time with your budgeting, with your scheduling, and just get super organized, because when it is happening and it is going and cameras are rolling, so much stuff gets thrown at you every single day, and there's a new fire you're putting out every day, and the more prepared you are for it, the better. Yeah,
it sounded like you did a lot of pre-planning. Like you said, you just really looked at the week ahead and just planned for everything.
I did, yeah.
Well, that's about it. Thanks for coming on to the show. I can't wait to watch you guys' movie. I'll meet you there at the screening, so I can't wait to meet you guys. There?
Yeah,
I'm gonna be there.
Oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Can't wait to meet you too. It's gonna be great.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
Cool. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Hollywood Hate Me with T. Huff. We here at Hollywood Hate Me love your support and can't wait to give you some movie-making insights in the next episode.